What's going on, everybody? My name is Curci, and I kind of skipped over 2016 as far as video games go. There were a few that I did play and did review, but I kind of wanted to break it down, all of the 2016 games and which ones I played and which ones I didn't. I'm gonna mush them all into one video here. This is gonna be fun. So the first game that I played last year was The Division, and The Division was actually really surprisingly good. I didn't expect a whole lot from it because I kind of expected it to be a little bit of Destiny, and I guess we all kind of know how I feel about Destiny. Not good, or at least I didn't like it. I'm actually excited about Destiny too, but we'll talk about that at a later date. But The Division did a good job of creating an atmosphere. Didn't really deliver a whole lot as far as narrative, but it also didn't have to. It used the narrative to kind of set the stage for what it was. The story of the game is basically that there is this virus that hit New York, and then you're a sleeper agent that got activated in an effort to restore what kind of order you can restore. But the mechanics are really good. I really like the RPG elements of the gear, adding on to certain skills, and I had a blast with the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone was like the PvP area of the game, so you could go into this area and you could find the best loot in the game, but you also had to contend with some enemy players and really hard enemies, like NPC enemies, I mean. There were players and NPCs, and the NPCs are hard. Not to say that the players aren't hard. Whatever. It's a fun mode in the game. It's a fun area to go to. I just felt that overall the game did a great job of taking an aspect of gaming that I'm not really a huge fan of and making me like it. It was a good game. Actually, if you haven't played The Division, it's definitely worth a look. Quantum Break was a game that I actually didn't expect a whole lot from, but as far as narrative, I actually really enjoyed it. It's all about time and how time is falling apart, and then you have the ability to control time, so you're like sort of a superhero in a way. Here's the thing about Quantum Break. It's a very short game. I wanted more out of it. At the end of it, I was like, I kind of just want more. I felt like it ended a little too soon. There's a lot more mystery that doesn't really get resolved. There's more questions at the end, and that's kind of a little bit of a bummer. But the cool thing about Quantum Break is that there is this live action series that you can skip if you're playing through it, but it actually gives you more story if you did stick through it. So every time you beat a level, you unlock this new episode, and so you get to watch this episode, and then once you're done watching it, you get to play another part of the game. And the way that it works is that the game is about the hero, and then the TV series, the live action series, is about the villain. So you have good guys and bad guys, and it actually gives you a big wide view. And some of the characters do kind of cross over sometimes, but not really, and I wish that they did a better job of certain characters will just get mentioned by name, and if you look at a certain computer, you might see this guy in the live action series sent an email to this guy. But as far as the gameplay, it made me feel like a badass in certain areas. And I really liked it. It had a really, really solid narrative. I wish that they just didn't finish the game the way that they did. It boils down to I just wish that there was more. It was a good game, but there needed to be more. Far Cry Primal, I didn't play it. The reason why I didn't play it is because I heard there was a lot of Far Cry 4 that was rehashing the Far Cry Primal, so I had no real desire to play it. I kind of thought it was like the Blood Dragon that was for Far Cry 3, and I thought Primal was that, but for Far Cry 4. And I guess you could argue that it might have been. Whatever, I just kind of skipped over it because I thought, I'll pass. Then we had Doom. Doom, out of all the games that I played last year, Doom was probably the most fun that I had. I don't really know what I expected out of Doom, but I had a blast playing it. It's just a stupid fun game. It doesn't really deliver a whole lot on the side of narrative. It doesn't really have a good story that it delivers. It tries to deliver on, but you really don't care. But it's so awesome the way the gameplay works. It just feels like a video game, and it's awesome. It didn't even bother you with the need to reload your gun. It didn't even go for realism. It was just yeah, here's a shotgun with 30 shells. Just blast somebody 30 times. You might have to pick up more ammo at a certain point, but it's just a really gory, really graphic, but really satisfying game. The glory kills were amazing. How you could just rip somebody's jaw open and then they explode with health and ammo. That was the other thing too, is that not a lot of first-person shooters have a need to do health. You don't have to really pick up health. Halo kind of did it at the beginning, but first-person shooters specifically have really gotten away from that. But Doom was just a modern version of the game that you would play years ago on the PC. It's just a stupid fun game. It doesn't even care if it delivers a good story. It doesn't try to deliver a good story. It's just we understand what we are. You're playing the game to kind of kill demons in awesome ways. We're going to give you waves of it. You're just going to jump around, start blasting and everything. Here's all these awesome weapons. You get a chainsaw, you just cut a dude's stomach open and he explodes with ammo and it's all awesome. The game is really stupid amount of fun. And also the multiplayer was really fun too. I wasn't great with it. I didn't really do a whole lot with it, but man, oh man, if you haven't played Doom, the most recent Doom, you need to do it immediately. Then we have Overwatch. Overwatch is the game that I waited a while to finally grab. I think it was a month or two before I finally got it because all my friends were like, Rick, you need to grab Overwatch. So I grabbed it, and when I first started playing it, I was like, oh, this is actually a lot of fun. I like how the different characters have their own little abilities and how each character can complement a different character and how your ults can can kind of complement other people's ults, like a Mei ult to freeze everybody, and then Reaper jumps in and just starts mowing people down with Death Blossom. There's not a whole lot to the game. Like, they've added like arcade mode and competitive and everything, but when the game launched, it wasn't a whole lot. It was almost like Titanfall. Like, Titanfall didn't really have a whole lot, but it was fun for what it was, and I feel like Overwatch falls into that same category. Which I remember when I did review this game, I did say that, like, I hated the fact that, like, okay, this is a full-price game. It doesn't really deliver a whole lot, but yet it's phenomenal, and I praise it, and I say that you should buy this game and play it. But then there are other games like Rainbow Six Siege where I bashed it for, like, the same reason. And it was only because of the fact that I felt that the game wasn't, like, executed as well as, say, like, Overwatch was. I know people like Rainbow Six Siege. I don't. And so, like, look, to each of their own. You can do whatever you want. I just don't like that game. But I think Overwatch does a great job. And I'll tell you what, I've spent more time in Overwatch than any other game. I actually played Overwatch last night. Played it till 4 in the morning with some of my friends. And it's just so much fun in that game. Like, all the stupid little game modes that they've added in. Like, we were playing, like, Mystery Hero. So every time you die and respawn, you play as a different hero. Like, you don't have the ability to choose who you get to play. So I got exposure in certain characters that I didn't normally get a chance to play. Like, there's a lot in that game that's just, it's just fun. It's a good game to just, like, I gotta spend 10 minutes, so let's just play Overwatch real quick, and it's just a fun game. And it's a game that, like, I've consistently gone back to. So if you haven't played Overwatch, I don't know what's wrong with you, but yeah, that's a thing that's somewhere, and you should definitely play it. A little bit of a learning curve, but just start with one character, and then start progressing with other characters. Take your time with the game, pick one, start it, go forward, but yeah, Overwatch is awesome. Homefront Revolution. I guess this is gonna be the first, like, solid negative review, because, man, this game. So I don't know what I expected from this game. I guess I was really hoping that it would be great because it's based in Philadelphia and I'm from Philadelphia, so I kind of was hoping to, like, oh, there's going to be a lot of really cool things, but there's not a single wah-wah in the game. Look, here's the thing about Homefront Revolution. It's the sequel to the original Homefront game, which basically says, like, okay, North Korea, like, invaded America, and now they rule America, which is, like, a stupid concept. I feel like a better villain for the game would not have been North Korea, because North Korea is not a believable villain. They're going to invade America and successfully do so. But Homefront Revolution just, it gave you the feeling that you were supposed to be starting a revolution, but it just fell flat. Like, the story was not good. The characters were even worse. And I'll tell you what, like, the game on a technical side was terrible. Like, look at this. This is me trying to go through the game, and I can't see half of the area because there's this weird graphical glitch halfway down the screen. It's like, what? There's a lot of, like, really stupid stuff in the game. Like, I think at one point that there was a character just running straight into a wall and then died for some reason. That game was just a mess. It wasn't fun. I got annoyed by it. And of course, the whole thing of it is, it was one of those games where I thought to myself, let me just beat it so I can say that I've beaten it, and I'll put out a video for it. That was, like, the first thing that I played this game, but I didn't put out a review for it because that was around the time where I started becoming very busy, and I'm just like, I just don't care. Yeah, don't play Homefront the Revolution because it's not a good game. It's not worth your time. Don't play that game. Also, like, the shooting mechanics were terrible. Like, my gun was here, but my bullets were going that way. It's like, why don't you come out of the gun? Why are you coming out, like, to the side of the gun? It was stupid. The game is like a mess. Don't play it. Mirror's Edge Catalyst. So here's the thing about Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I got really bored with that game. I don't know about the original Mirror's Edge. I never played it, but when I was playing through Mirror's Edge Catalyst, I feel like there was this expansive world that it kept telling you, like, oh, you can go wherever you want, but I feel like that's not entirely true. Like, there was, like, certain paths that I can go as far as, like, the free running, but even the free running felt very handholdy. Like, the game would have this, like, silhouette that you could follow, and it's like, okay, you gotta go from point A to point B, follow the silhouette. It's like, unless you don't follow the silhouette, you're not gonna know the fastest way to get there. There's a lot of color in the game, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the game was artsy when it didn't have to be, and the story was really boring. The combat was okay, but it wasn't great. I got bored. It's just bored. That's not good. When you have a game and you're playing it, you don't want to be bored. This felt like with all the free running in the game, I'm like, this is like a stupid Assassin's Creed. Certain Assassin's Creed games are stupid by themselves, but this is like a stupid version of that. I just didn't feel like the game had anything going for it. It was just boring, and the story was boring, and the characters were boring. The game was boring. Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, didn't play it. Moving on. Inside. Well, let me tell you about Inside. Inside is made by the same people that made Limbo, and you can totally see there are a lot of really similar things with Limbo and Inside. inside. The art style is a little bit different. There is a 3D aspect to the game where some of the enemies are going to be coming from like the background. It's a side-scrolling game, and as you're progressing, there's no dialogue or anything, but the game is like unraveling this mystery as it goes. It's like the game is saying like, okay, you're going to go that way. Not really sure what you're going to find. There is a mystery involved, and as you run that way, you start to unravel that mystery. But there's like certain secrets in the game, so like you're running through a cornfield and you run over, there's actually a secret bunker, jump down, and there's like achievements with that. But a lot of the puzzles were really awesome. There's a lot of backtracking in the game in certain areas because you want to try to get the puzzles right, and there's a lot of trial and error, so you're going to die a lot in this game. But Limbo was the same way. It's like you're going to die a lot, and then you're going to realize what you're doing wrong, and then you're going to progress forward as you need to. Inside is worth your time if you like Limbo. If you didn't like Limbo, or you never, so here's the thing. If you played Limbo and you liked it, you're going to like Inside. If you played Limbo and didn't like it, you could probably pass on Inside. If you never played either, I would recommend playing Inside if you like that sort of indie product that's sort of like artsy and a little bit of a brain teaser. Doesn't really deliver a whole lot on the side of story, but at the end, it's going to blow your mind because, wow, that ending. I don't think it was as good as a lot of people are making it sound. Like, a lot of people are saying, they're like, this is a Game of the Year contender. I'm like, no, calm down. It's not. It's still very good, though. Like, I feel like if it was in people's top 10 list, okay, that makes sense. I don't think it's Game of the Year because of all the games that I played, that's still Doom. Here's a game that not a lot of people knew about, The Park. If you were coming up with a list of games that came out, like The Park wouldn't really be one of them, because here's the thing. The Park is billed as a horror game. It's not, though. It's a bad horror game. Man, it was boring. Like, it was just, I thought it was going to be scarier than what it was, and the achievements were really stupid easy. Like, I 1,000-point that game in like one sitting. But even the story of the game is a little wonky. It's like, okay, you're playing as a mom that might be abusive or has been abused. I'm not really sure what the story is. I feel like the game tried to be smarter than what it actually was. If you're looking for like a decent narrative or a scary game, skip it. It's not going to have that. Dark Souls 3. I wanted to actually play this. I know I said that I would. I didn't, though. I kind of want to play the original Dark Souls. I want to play Dark Souls 1 and 2 before I actually get to 3. That's the goal. I have both. I never played it. I didn't play this one. I'm sorry. I know I said I would, but I didn't. Hitman. So Hitman was interesting. Okay, so first of all, I didn't play it. It was interesting in the sense of, the reason why I didn't play is because I heard it was like coming out episodically, and that annoyed me. I thought like, that's stupid for like a big release like Hitman. A lot of people agreed with me early on. Like, it was like one level. The game came out and it was just one level, and everybody was like, what? No. But like, as time went on and the developers started releasing additional levels, it was actually appreciated, because then it like expanded the lifespan of the game. Like, you weren't playing the game in like a week. You were playing the game over the course of a few months. And so like, you would play one level of Hitman, go do your other thing, and then go back to Hitman. And then I think they're still coming out with new stuff for that game. And it's intrigued me to the point where I think to myself, like, how much stuff is in this game? Like, should I start paying attention to it? So Hitman is definitely going to be one of those games that I will play eventually, especially with all the things that are coming. Oh, you know what? Another cool thing though is that people play Hitman and they're doing like stuff and they're uploading it to YouTube. Like, there's one video where a guy electrifies a puddle, then he keeps luring people to the puddle, and then they just keep getting shocked, and it's like 70 people are getting killed. Like, they're all just piling up, and as people are coming in to like pull the bodies away, more people are dying. And then like a later level, the developers put in dialogue between two characters talking about like, yeah, it was a freak accident with an electrified puddle and it killed like 75 people. It's just like, that's actually pretty cool. Like, the developers saw the content that the fan base was creating and decided to like make it canon. Yeah, that thing you did in the game actually affected the universe. Like, that's badass. I love that. So maybe releasing a game episodically like that is not a bad idea. I kind of hope that that doesn't become the new like trend. But you know what? With the success of this one, maybe it's not a bad trend. I don't know. I would rather that not be a thing, but I don't know. Forza Horizon 3. Another game that I said I would play, never did. Don't really care. Mafia 3. So Mafia 3 I started to play. It was like around September. Things were really starting to kick off with like the busyness, and I tried to play it, and you know, I was interested in it. I felt like, okay, it's pretty good. The controls were pretty good. A little muddy here and there. Like, the story was really starting to get interesting, but I felt like the game took a little too long to get to where I wanted it to get to, and I never got to that point. So, and all the fall releases were about to come out, so I started thinking to myself, I'm just gonna put Mafia 3 on the back burner. I will come back to it at a later date. Maybe I'll go back to it. I don't really know. Gears of War 4. Okay, so I do identify myself as a gamer. I do identify myself more as an Xbox gamer. Never really played Gears of War. I was interested in Gears of War 4, and I was gonna play it, but then I got the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and I played through the first game, and I thought to myself, I will play through the next two before I play through 4. I really liked the first one. I played through Judgment. I didn't think Judgment was all that great, but it was okay. And then when I played through the original game, I thought to myself, like, okay, I actually get it now. I understand why a lot of people people like this game. But I want to play through 2 and 3 before I get to 4, because I don't want to get to 4, have something spoiled for me. Like, I already know certain things about the Gears of War story. Like, I know certain plot points that happen. I want to properly go through that franchise before I get to 4. So it wasn't like I skipped 4 because I don't like the franchise. I do like the franchise. I just want to go about it in chronological order. So I will play Gears of War 4 eventually. So after I play through 2 and 3, then I will get to 4, because that's how numbers work. Final Fantasy 15. I talked about this a little bit in my return video, but I do own Final Fantasy 15. I never actually officially played it. I feel like Final Fantasy 15 will be the first ever Final Fantasy game that I play. Here's the thing though. That's a game that I know is going to take up the majority of my time. And like, as I've said right now, there were a lot of games coming out in the fall that I wanted to play. And now we're at a point in time where I'm playing a lot of For Honor and I'm playing a lot of Overwatch. And then you have Mass Effect Andromeda is right around the corner. Eventually there will be a point in time where there will be a large break. And if I decide not to play through the rest of the Gears of War franchise, I will play through Final Fantasy 15. Because I've heard good things about it. I know a lot of people like it. And so I will play it. I do own it. I just haven't played it yet. But I will. Titanfall 2. I love Titanfall. I love that franchise. Like, Titanfall was my game when it came out. I was so good at it, and I played it constantly. Titanfall 2 is a decent sequel. And also it had like its single player. Like, its single player was done really well. There's like really good level design. In particular, there was one level that I thought was phenomenal. I really wish that there was more to it though. Like, I wish that there was more out of the story. I wish that there was just more. Like, and the same thing of Quantum Break. What was there was great. I just wish that there was more of it. Now, as far as like the multiplayer is like a little bit faster, and there are different things with it. Like, they changed up the Titans a little bit. Can't really change out the loadouts, but there are like more Titans. So you have one that has like a jetpack and can fly up in the air and fire missiles. You have another one that has like this chest beam, and there's another one that has like shields. Another one has like a flamethrower. Like, there's a bunch of different types of Titans. There's no chain gun anymore. There's like a plasma gun that's sort of like I guess the closest thing to the chain gun, but I kind of missed the chain gun. Like, that thing was accurate and it did a lot of damage. But still, the multiplayer is good. I have a lot of fun with it. Here's the thing that I don't like about Titanfall 2. Not a fan of the maps. There's a lot of maps that have like a lot of really open areas, but then there are certain maps that doesn't give you like a whole lot of maneuverability. More often than not, there's a lot of maps that I'm not really a huge fan of in that game, which is a pity, because it's like, I remember the original game had like really badass level designs where you could just like just wall run on all these different things and like jump inside of a window and you're just constantly on the move. Like, there are certain games I'll play through, I'll never touch the ground. But in this version, there is opportunities to wall run, but I feel like they're not as good as they were in the original. It more panders to the Titans than it does like complement the Titans and the pilots at the same time. Like, I feel like pilots get the shaft while the Titans get like most of the control. I'm not really a fan of that compromise. Like, I wish that there should have been a better balance as far as like the levels. So not great map design, but still a good game overall, and I have a lot of fun with it. I don't play it as much as I do the original, but I am going to go back to play it at some point, because I know that there's like additional content that has come out since I played it last, so I will play it again. But it is a good game. I think it was arguably one of the best shooters that came out last year. Speaking of more of the shooters, we had Battlefield 1. So Battlefield 1 takes the Battlefield franchise and brings it back to World War I. I say back to. I don't know if Battlefield ever was in World War I. But either way, it takes it back to like the World War eras, like World War II and World War I, except this one was in World War I. And it's actually done really, really well. I love that multiplayer because it is Battlefield and all of its Battlefield awesomeness. Also, there's like dynamic weather. It'll be like totally clear, and then all of a sudden there's a sandstorm. It's random. And it can change how the game progresses. Like, you could be a sniper in the game and be doing great. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, it's foggy. Not doing a great job as a sniper. Maybe I should change things up. And then there's like a behemoth that can come in, and so it's like an airship, or it's a boat that's like a warship and it'll just start firing, or it's a train that'll just start firing on things. And then of course there's operations where it's basically like Rush. It's like Rush on steroids. You capture points and you push further in, push further in, push further in, and then once you get to a certain point, you do it all over again with like a new map. It does a good job of making it feel like you're invading this country and you're pushing further into their territory, or maybe you're defending and you're trying to keep the invaders out. It took the game modes that were already pre-existing and just put a cool little fun twist on it. Didn't really change like the game entirely. It just was like, yeah, this is a little bit more immersive. But I like the guns, I like the control. Like I said, it's Battlefield and all of its Battlefield awesomeness. And then there's the campaign. The campaign is good in the sense of it doesn't really tell an overarching story, but it does like tell like these sort of different war stories here and there. Like, it tells you the story of like this tank crew. They're in this big tank battle, and then the tank goes off on its own. But here's the thing about the tanks in World War I, they were pieces of shit and they broke down all the time. So it was like a sense of realism, and it told really good stories, and there were like 4 or 5 different stories that could be told, and they're not overarching stuff, but it was just these little war stories here and there, and it was just a nice touch. I was like, oh, that's a different approach to a first-person shooter story, that it doesn't have to blow your mind. It's just like, here are some of the stories that would happen during this time. Like, we're not going to blow your mind, but yeah, it's there. It's pretty nice. I think a lot of people are making them seem like they're a lot better than they actually are, but even still, like, it's good. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Okay, so I will start with its single player, because I enjoyed the hell out of its single player. I like the fact that it went into the future and how, like, you're in space. I really like the characters in that game. The characters really helped make that story great. The villain was terrible. Jon Snow, you're not a good villain. I'm sorry. As far as Call of Duty, you fell flat. But I really like the robot companion in the game. I'm pretty sure his name is Ethan. He was phenomenal. I loved him. But I feel like the story was a good approach, and also it did like a really cool thing where there were certain little side missions here and there that you could do. Like, you beat a mission and then you could choose what mission you wanted to do next, and there were optional missions. You didn't have to do them, but you know, they were there. I appreciated that. It made me want to, I want to play everything before I advance forward. I'm not able to play those other missions again. I wish that Call of Duty would take that structure, make it better. Like, not necessarily a role-playing aspect to it, but like, depending on certain missions that you do, maybe it changes the outcome of a future mission, where it's like, there's an enemy unit patrolling out here, we should go attack them, and then that's like its whole mission. And then if you attack them, the next mission that you do, there's no reinforcements because you already took them out. And then it can change how the game progresses. Like, everybody's story is a little bit different. Like, I like that. Its multiplayer, though, multiplayer wasn't great. I wasn't a huge fan of the multiplayer in Infinite Warfare, just because it was Call of Duty all over again. I was happy when Advanced Warfare changed up the pace when it did like its double jumping. Black Ops 3 changed things up with like the super abilities, but they're small changes, and at this point the small changes aren't really doing it. And also, Infinite Warfare didn't really change anything. And again, they had zombies. Like, the zombies have got to stop. Like, that should strictly be a Treyarch thing. I was really hoping that they would bring aliens back. The extinction game mode that Ghost had, it was like the one good thing about Call of Duty Ghosts, which would have worked perfect because, hey guys, your game's actually in space. It would have been awesome if you actually had aliens in it. It would have worked perfect. It was the one good thing about that game that was terrible. But no, they did zombies because zombies has been proven to work, and I'm so done with the Call of Duty franchise. Its story was really good. Its campaign was really good, and I really enjoyed it. And I think a lot of people should take note that, like, listen, it had a great narrative and a good story and a good campaign. Its multiplayer sucked. And because its multiplayer sucked, there was no replayability value. It was the first Call of Duty game that I have not bought. I haven't touched that game since I first played it because I don't own it and I don't care to own it. So Watch Dogs 2. I remember the original Watch Dogs and I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. The story was okay. If you skipped it, you're not missing out on anything. And because of that, I lacked a lot of motivation to play Watch Dogs 2. I'm sure that there were things in Watch Dogs 2 that it improves on from the original, but I didn't have the motivation, and so I didn't play it. Dishonored 2, I actually did want to play, and I actually started playing it. I actually beat like the first level of the game, but then I stopped. I'll play it eventually because I like the original Dishonored. I feel like it's a little overrated. I'm sure that once I actually got into it, I wouldn't be able to put the game down. It just happened to be a game that just, the timing was weird. There was another game that came out, and I can't remember for the life of me why I stopped playing it, but there was another game that I wanted to play more, and so this game just didn't make it. Telltale's Batman. So I was really excited for this one because, like, I love Telltale, and everything Telltale does I think is phenomenal, except for this one. The technical problems are still there. The game still lags. There's a lot of frame rate drops, like the quick time events are just, they're quick time events. I feel like this system is starting to get old now. Like, I look forward to playing Walking Dead Season 3 because I'm so invested into that world, but I feel like at this point, Telltale needs to start embracing the stories that they've already established. Like, I can't wait for Tales from the Borderlands Season 2. I can't wait for The Walking Dead Season 3. Can't wait for The Wolf Among Us Season 2. Batman, Game of Thrones, not really feeling it. And I liked Game of Thrones, and I liked this one. Like, it was Batman. Batman's awesome. He's my favorite superhero ever, and I was really excited to, like, be behind the cowl, but still, it was, I don't know, it just wasn't, I wasn't feeling it like I was some of the other Telltale stuff. And finally, we have Dead Rising 4, which was a game that I was really excited about because I love Dead Rising 3, and I will play it eventually, but I didn't, and I will, I promise. But that's all of the 2016 games that I ever really cared about. I know there was more games that came out, but these are the games that I was targeting to play. Some of them I did, some I did not. That's it. Overall, I think 2016 was, I'm gonna be honest, I think it was a weak year. Like, yeah, there were a lot of like big titles like Doom and Overwatch and Final Fantasy, and then there were like really good installments for Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1. If I were to name a game of the year out of all the games that I played, which I realize aren't many, it's Doom. It's still Doom. Doom is awesome, and if you haven't played it, play it! But yeah, that's 2016. Now it's in the books. Now I'm all caught up. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.